If you're following along, I'm going to share with you what I would do and how to use this tool. So this is a GPT tool that I built to help my coaching clients because they didn't want to be content creators. They were getting bogged down with the volume of how much content they needed to create in order to create that visibility. So it's not just visibility as we're posting just to get visible. What actually is bringing people in is the frequency at which we are connecting with that same person consistently. So I know that was kind of like very wordy, but it takes multiple touch points. And I know like the rule of seven, it's so many more touch points now. I think it's 27 now just in the buyer's journey. And there's now studies on like how many places these touch points need to happen in order for people to build that trust. Also stats on how many hours of content they need to consume before they're ready to invest. So because of that mix of that volume play, the mix of the frequency play, but not wanting to have to have my clients become content creators and just literally have to pump out content, I created this tool called My Real BFF within my own methodologies that I've been using for the past 10 years. So I'm a content marketer. I do this full time. I've been doing it for the last decade. I specifically in the past maybe 5 or 6 years have been specializing with coaches that are just really on a mission to help people and serve people. So today I want to walk you through specifically how I would create a content comeback post. And we're going to walk through all of these phases so that you have them. But we're going to start with visibility because that is the first place. Now, as I was mentioning, there's top of funnel content, there's middle of funnel content, and there's bottom of funnel. And you probably have seen like the actual funnels. But if you were to scroll down, this is how I literally imagine it in my head. So when I'm thinking about this, because it's not really a funnel and people are constantly moving back and forth. Why I see people, and in particular coaches, mess up with their content and effectively burn out is because they're not putting the right type of content, meaning that is it a top of funnel content? And I'll explain what this means if you're not super familiar. They're not putting in the right place, in the right stage of this customer journey, the buyer's journey, or literally your member's journey, client's journey, getting to work with you. A lot of times people are putting the buy my thing, which is actually bottom of funnel content, meaning like the call to action is like an actual conversion, right? They're putting that at a top of funnel place. So they're saying, hey, I've never met you before, but buy my thing. Or when you walked into a store and someone's already, here's a basket. Do you need help today? What were you looking for? That's happening online. And so we want to make sure that we're matching the right messaging, the right type of content for who's there. But that doesn't really bug people as much when they are very problem aware and they're even solution aware. They're like, I am looking for coaching and I want to buy something of coaching. Yes, please tell me more. That's the right place to put that content. So as you think about visibility, it's not just visibility, but are you needing more volume? Because if you are, let's get you some more top of funnel versus bottom of funnel because there's less people here. It's harder to break through these steps, right, to get to this bottom of funnel where someone's at the investment stage, especially when you need so many touch points. If you're at a volume play, we want to start building awareness and familiarity content. If you're on middle of funnel, it's around here, familiarity considerations. You're effectively just moving people closer to the investment stage. And then bottom of funnel is here. I'm going to teach you how to do all of these things, but if you're following along, just start with the one place that you need. So I'm going to start with top of funnel. One of the things, if you've never used ChatGPT or a lot of these other tools, you can reference like your brand guidelines and things of that sort. If you have a document where you've put your brand guidelines, that's beautiful. If you have a website link and you make it so that it's actually searchable by the internet, go ahead and put that in here because now ChatGPT can recall your actual brand, or you can literally just type in whatever's the public domain information. So my brand name is, this is my target audience, like all the basic things that you would want to give context to this GPT. Now I have my own guidelines here. So I just uploaded that. I have it there so I don't have to keep typing everything out. Here, I'm literally going to copy and paste this top of funnel messaging. I effectively kind of created a prompt for you. Okay, this is actually a custom GPT tool, so it has a lot of my philosophies on how I think about content. So all of those pieces that I was talking about guiding people, it's written into this GPT. So it's going to give you a much better output than just using a regular tool. So I'm going to say create a list of 20 compelling based on the following strategy. Now here's top of funnel, spark recognition. It's kind of go through kind of these steps here, but you can see for my audience, it'd be like, this is for you if you're exhausted from trying to show up on 7 platforms and still feel invisible. You don't need a new strategy. You need to feel safe being seen. If just post more was the answer, you'd already have what you want. So you can see here, this is already starting to develop these hooks for the top of funnel people because they may not even be problem aware quite yet. And so we're helping to educate them on what their problem is. They're likely thinking their problem is something else. Now, if we were to do the same thing, and for this section, all I want you to do is just create headlines. And then what I would do is I would literally copy and paste this list into here. And then I would go through and cross off the ones that don't feel good or just delete them and then keep the ones that feel good. And then for the middle of funnel, you'd literally just do the same thing. So I'm just going to say, this looks great because I wanted to know that output is what I'm wanting. But if it wasn't correct, I would say this is not correct. Here, fix it this way. This is usually why I use this GPT tool that I created because you don't have to keep going back and forth with it all the time. So I said, this looks great. Now let's do this for middle of funnel. And I'm gonna say using the following strategy. Okay, so again, this is the silent struggle at this stage. And this is more of the I see you. So you're creating from integrity and wondering if it's costing you growth. You're not lazy. You're just tired of pretending you don't need rest. That's real. So a lot of these are a lot deeper. Not everyone will get it, but your people will. So it gives you kind of a hook to some different angles that you can go from. This is, I feel like my audience really would resonate with this. Let's normalize not monetizing every moment of your life. That is a huge thing for my audience. That's part of why I created this tool is like they're okay when they want to participate, but they don't want to have to be a content creator that it has to be at the whim of the algorithm. So again, the same thing here. So looks good. I'm actually going to show you something. So I really like this one. This is actually, I'll probably create a piece of content on this. So if you were to highlight that, I went do that fast. If you highlight this and you put these little quotes, that's like a reply tool, it's going to like effectively select that and give this GPT the context for the next prompt I'm about to say. So I'm going to say, I really love this phrase here. I'm going to say just sharing for context. Let's move on to bottom of funnel. So this is going to be that call to action. So if you're struggling getting people to actually raise their hand for that download or sign up for your program or whatever it is, this would be the call to action section. So if your message is clear, but your strategy feels muddy, I've got a map. Let's clarify in the next one-on-one call. You don't need a 6-month plan. You need one aligned next step, drop focus, and I'll show you this. So you could even get more specific. So you've built so much already. Now let's make it work for you. What does that really mean? What does make that work for you? That could mean so many different things to my audience. So you could even say for this, like, these are okay, but not really specific. Also, I want to give out a real tool that I have. So actually, if you had your tools like listed on that brand guide or whatever, you could do that here, but we could say something like, I have one that's like on, gosh, custom audience targeting. Okay, tools I have. And then I'm giving it real stuff so that you can actually see a real answer. Okay, so now we're getting a little bit more specific here. You know your people are out there. Let's actually find them. DM audience, and I'll send you my custom audience targeting tool. That's pretty cool. And it might come up with some things that like maybe that's not the actual name of the tool that I have. Just plug in the one, or it will give you ideas if you don't have names yet for it. But this is how you can now start to test what's working. Which of these are working, which of them are not. So right now, you should have a bunch of different hooks and at the bottom here, I just wanted to refocus us because sometimes what can happen with these AI tools is we have so many ideas and then there's like this overwhelm of how to move forward. So the first step, I just want to re-anchor us into what funnel am I really building for right now? Right now, we talked about visibility being the first one. So that would be really top of funnel. I'm wanting as many eyes as I could possibly get on my content at this moment. And then what's the next one that you need? Likely it's middle of funnel if you're starting there. But maybe for you, you're like, no, I need to go immediately to bottom of funnel, and then I'm going to start integrating in this middle of funnel because effectively you get to take this content compact that I'm about to share with you in a second, this introduction post script and prompt, and you get to do this for all of them. So if the day that you decide, all right, I'm moving into middle of funnel or I want to test it this week, you get to then do this.